Hello and welcome to the QATV City of Quincy Special Election Night Coverage 2023. I'm here, of course, along with my colleague, Mark Crosby, along with my colleague Joe Catalano, to bring you election night numbers as they come in for this Ward 4 council seat. And we will, Joe, have guests throughout the evening as well.
Absolutely. All four candidates in this special preliminary election will be joining us this evening. Give us a little insight into their platforms, how their campaigning went, and hopefully by the end of this broadcast, we'll actually know the two finalists remaining that will face each other during the February 7th final election, again, to choose a new Ward 4 City Councilor for the remainder of this year. That winner can then, if they so choose, run for the full two-year term during this fall's city elections. And we begin actually with the first candidate, and Joel Buenaventura is here in studio. Talk to us a little bit about this quick journey, Joel, that you've had to take to run for the Ward 4 seat. So first of all, good evening.
Good evening. Yeah, it's a sprint here. It's a lot. It's a lot of turnaround, a lot of, I was doing my fundraising, doing my announcement, and it's just all gone really fast. But still, I got a chance to knock doors, had a chance to meet, learn things. I've lived in the ward for about 41 years, but I've learned a lot of new things. And really a lot of times it is about the journey, because you learn things about things, you learn different skill sets, and you take a perspective on it. I had a chance to meet some older families who've lived in there, and I've had a chance to meet newer families and hear about their concerns, and it's been great.
So what are some of those concerns?
Well, again, it was the same thing that happened during the Quincy votes debates. People always traffic. I think traffic. I think also development. That's a very big concern about that, how we do it, smart development, how we go about those things, big project. People are concerned about not just developments in Ward 4, but also just around the city in general. I also think people are concerned. I mean, they love their neighborhoods and they're all interested. They just want to make sure things are there. Also, cost of living's a big concern. And the other thing, I don't think we got into the debate, but also education. I mean, we have that. The city bought some land next to St. Mary's. It's currently being used as a training center, and people want to know a little more about the education, since the other schools, although we have the three schools, Lincoln, Hancock, De La Chiesa, and Southwest, but people want to know what happened, because the Willard School and the Bryan School, I believe, shut down a long time ago, and they're looking forward to seeing what that school is going to happen, what's going to be there, but that's a little future down the line, but yes. People have had some questions about that too.
Sure. So this was your first foray into the world of elected office, public service. Is it something you expected? Did it go as you thought it would? Were there any surprises?
Sure. I mean, although as a candidate, I mean, I've helped on campaigns in the past for statewide candidates. So I tried to run a campaign very textbook, just knocking doors, doing my palm cards, and just making sure people knew and getting my word out there. I had a great team of people. I thank you immensely for all that, giving me some insights and helping me kind of craft how I approach trying to get in this race. So
yeah. Talk about the diversity of Ward 4.
Oh, yeah. Diversity in terms of racial diversity, a lot. I mean, obviously, from the immigrant experience you have in the past, I mean, it's Irish for the stoneworkers and people, Irish, Italian, and Finnish. Those are the predominant, but also many new members. I see them in my church at St. Mary's, Nigerians, Africans. It's just very eclectic, but Quincy in general overall is a very eclectic city. Also, I want to talk also about economic diversity. So we have obviously Brewers Corner has a certain reputation. However, I don't think it's necessarily the reputation it deserves, almost in sort of economic things. But we have a lot of renters, we have a lot of property owners, and it's just a very diverse. You have like some of the wealthiest people who live in the city and some of the poorest people who live in the city, and they all have their needs, and it's just, I think that diversity is amazing on both sides. You learn a lot. I mean, I've learned a lot about that thing, not just people. I got some comments from some some voters about the approach on development and stuff. Again, don't just we don't ignore the renters, either renters or versus property. They all have their needs, and I want to support those needs if I should go.
So regardless of the outcome tonight, Joel, what you have learned, how will that affect what you do here in the city going forward?
Well, again, I just want to make sure what I've learned. I just want to make sure people. I think the former counselor did a good job of giving people notice. I just want to make sure people know what's going on in the ward. I think that's a very big issue. And I also want to make sure people's needs are met. I mean, I think.
And I think, with that said, one of your, I guess, campaign platforms is response. So by phone and by person to person, as opposed to, I suppose, email.
Yeah, well, again, I mean, even in my own practice, I'm a very face-to-face type of guy. I like I like communicating people, so I think there are newer things that I've heard people doing text and other things, Zooms and stuff. But however, as far as that, I just want to make sure people get the word out, whether I do a blog, whether I do something, it's how I would approach it. But I like face-to-face very much. I'll knock your door if I can.
When you were doing that, when you were going door to door, did you find that people knew there was a special election? What was the kind of the interest of residents when it came to this particular election?
I think it was the full spectrum. Some people did not know.
Some didn't, yeah.
But some people, the engaged people, they definitely knew.
Yeah.
I think they knew even before, because remember, there was a gubernatorial election this year. A lot of those people already knew ahead of time.
Okay.
And I was knocking doors for candidates, and people were asking me about that too. So it's also a full spectrum. Full spectrum. I think the city did a good job of notifying all the placards. I mean, still a little more. I mean, you never really know that answer. But yeah.
I actually was a student of Sterling Middle School back in the day, and of course now it's the Southwest Middle School. Beautiful school, and the Kincaid Park recently redone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice job.
Yeah, great accomplishment of our former ward council.
And certainly something to maintain now from here on out.
Any other areas in Ward 4 you think need boosting up, Joel?
Well, I do want to know. I mean, I think also the tree areas, the DCR, that side of the ward.
Okay.
I think that needs a little help. Well, but all around, anything beyond. I mean, everything needs a little more help overall, even on West Street. Even though, I mean, I'm a tree person. I must be a tree hugger, but but anything, plant more urban canopy, please. But yeah, I think we need to look at things. I mean, obviously, some of the streets. I mean, Brewers Corner needs a little help. It's a little steep. So, but that's just me.
In terms of facades, streets, things like that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So infrastructure improvements.
Infrastructure. Also, we need to approach some things like, I had a call about rat that issue that became infestation and stuff, but that's a general thing. It kind of recedes during the winter, and then it'll come back in the spring and the summer, as you know.
Yeah, and I think that really involves working with the city health department.
Yeah.
City department, health department, correct?
Yeah.
Just to maintain that certainly we want restaurants in your ward. It's just about maintaining
Absolutely.
a healthy workplace.
Okay.
Any other thoughts about, well, you say development, and I guess when you say development, we're talking obviously smart development. There seems to be a big push for residential units over commercial space, not only in Quincy, but in the surrounding towns.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're talking about affordability, that's one issue. But I think it goes back to that same sort of question. People want to be notified when these big projects are going, and people want to at least have their say on what's going on. And I think there are some projects where we were under COVID, so that kind of sort of happened, and maybe the voice wasn't heard from what the neighbors and surroundings got. So I think there's a little unrest about that. I mean, there is a community meeting on I believe this Thursday, 17th, 18th, 19th at Southwest School, if you'd like to voice your opinion on one of those projects. And get out there. I'd like to, but
Thanks for stopping by this evening.
Okay.
We wish you the very best. And thank you for participating here at Quincy Access
Okay.
Television's live election coverage.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Very welcome. If you're just joining us, you're watching Quincy Access Television's live election coverage of the Ward 4 special preliminary election. 4 candidates tonight will be narrowed down to 2 to face each other in the final special election, which will be on February the 7th. The winner of that contest will then serve out the remainder of the Ward 4 term through the end of this year and can then run for the full 2-year term if they so choose.
We should mention that we did hook up with the city clerk, Nicole Crispo, early on in the evening, and we will have an interview with her in just a bit. But we have another guest, Joe, joining us, another candidate for the Ward 4 seat.
Matthew Lyons, who has been very active here at QATV since the start of this special election and continues to do so this evening. So, Mr. Lyons, good to see you again. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.
Very welcome. How was it out there on the campaign trail?
Well, it was something new and something
Yeah.
exciting. It was great to get out and knock the doors and see all the people and, you know, try to give my vision for Ward 4 in the city of Quincy. And I really enjoyed myself. It was a great time.
And what is that vision?
Well, the vision is a lot of what the same that goes on, but responsible development, development that's going to help the working families in Ward 4, and you know, just nice place to live.
And talking about working families, go back in your own family, and let's talk about generations, and
Sure.
let's talk about the quarry industry here in the city.
Yeah. So my family goes way back into that, and there's my my ancestors came over in the mid-1800s. I told the story lots of times on the political trail, and very proud of the history of my family. I had a great grandfather who passed away in an accident in the quarries, as well as I had a great uncle who was the first to pass away in the pandemic of 1918. And so my family goes way back in the quarries and just in the West Quincy as well. Even up to this day, I have lots of family members in the ward, and so it's very prideful to be able to run, and unfortunately came up a little short. But
Did you learn anything about Ward 4 during this process that you didn't know beforehand?
a great deal,
Really?
actually. And you know, just getting out and seeing the neighborhoods, and not really. I mean, when you live in the area for a long time and you drive on the main streets, and you know, you don't really get back into some of the side roads that go so much further back, and there's so much more to the neighborhoods than when you're just driving on the main streets and the roads, going in and out of work, and talking with the people. And I had a great time getting to know the people in Ward 4. So.
Well, I think to step up to run for political office says a lot.
Sure.
Says that you care.
Yeah, and I do. It's something I've my whole life that, you know, through my union work, through my life in 35 years.
Technician, correct?
I'm a fiber splicer now with Verizon, but with 35 years, and a union representative for IBEW 2222 in Boston for 35 years as well. And, you know, representing working families, and a lot of those working families still are, that's what represents Ward 4. One of the things that I was amazed by was how many, not just union members there are in Ward 4, but retired union members. And, you know, there was the woman that I had spoke to, I think it was down off Campbell Street, where I was talking, the neighbor was a teacher who was a union worker, a teacher, and the older lady next door, that I spoke with her, and she was still living on her husband's pension. And she thanked me for representing union people, and that's the stuff that makes me proud, and the stuff that I'll always represent.
Are there folks, Mr. Lyons, that help you with your campaign that you'd like to recognize?
Sure. My cousin Judy Pekkanen, who was you know, great member of Ward 4. My cousin Greg McDonald, who was a longtime employer in Ward 4. Just a lot. There was a lot of people. My family members, my nieces and nephews all came out for me, and I really appreciate that. And a lot of my union brothers and sisters, and I was endorsed by 23 unions in the city, and they all came out very strong for me, and I really appreciate their help, and thank them very much.
Would you do it again?
I would.
Really?
I absolutely would.
Okay.
I'm not.
Well, I think because it's a learning experience.
Sure. Yeah. My first time out.
Right.
I had never run for anything before, and yeah, I would still consider it.
And I think one of the, just alone, when you're out there on the, not alone on the trail, but when you're out there and you're meeting with people one-on-one, and just noticing what some of those concerns are and bringing them forward, whether you continue to the final or not,
Yes.
I think is an accomplishment.
100%. I agree with you. And there are a lot of concerns. You know, we talk a lot about traffic. We talk a lot about the development. But, you know, people in Ward 4 have a lot of different concerns, and they're not that active in trying to get out. I mean, one of the things about this thing that was kind of frustrating is that you have 9,000 registered people to
voters,
vote,
yeah.
and you know, we coming up in the hundreds here, and that's really kind of sad.
I think
In a
the
way.
580,
Yeah,
Yeah.
somewhere around that, which would amount to about 8%.
it's not very big, is it?
So what can you attribute that to anything?
Well, I don't know. I think
Yeah.
part of my vision for being, if I had still in the race and was lucky enough to represent Ward 4 and for the rest of Brian Palmucci's term, I would have tried to build better community groups that would in Ward 4, because I don't think they really exist like they exist in other areas.
We talked about this during the debate. There
We
is
did.
really no active civic association.
really isn't.
So you don't have to be a city councilor to start that up. So
No.
would you consider?
Well, it would be part of my running again if I were to run again.
Okay, but would you consider it even if you weren't?
Sure.
As just a
sure,
citizen,
absolutely.
a resident?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. I think it needs it.
Yeah.
Ward 4 needs it. Like I've said in the forum, as well as being out on the campaign trail, the highway kind of divides Ward 4, and it's almost a tale of two cities in a way.
I like that you said that, because that is so true. There's
Yeah.
a neighborhood on one side,
Yes.
and there's a neighborhood in the other, and a lot of times people don't connect the two.
100%. And you can see that in the vote turnout as well. You can see that in the vote count. And the precincts in some of those areas is much lower than it is in the other ones. And it doesn't make, I don't mean this doesn't mean there's good people and bad people. But it just means that when you have active members in one section of and non-active members in the others, then that means that one section's getting attention and the other isn't. And you know, this is what needs to be rectified, I think.
Maybe a
in
positive
Ward 4.
outcome of this whole special election will be greater unity.
Well, I would hope so.
In Ward 4, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Lyons. It's been a pleasure.
Absolutely, you too.
Thank you very
I've
much.
watched you guys over the years, and it's a pleasure to sit here finally in front of you.
Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your
Yeah.
support, and don't be a
You guys are
stranger.
great.
You're a Quincy resident, 18 and older, so you can be a member and do your
Just
own
slightly
show.
over 18.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Just joining us, you are watching Quincy Access Television's preliminary election night coverage of the Ward 4 special election. 4 candidates on the ballot tonight, being narrowed down to 2 to face each other off on February the 7th and then serve out the remainder of the term.
I think, Joe, one of the things that I just want to bring up to folks is that the fact that the city of Quincy is having a preliminary election means that there was interest. Certainly interest to have this election before the final election. So kudos to all those candidates who decided to run.
One of them stepped up very, very soon after it was determined there was going to be a special election, and that was Sharon Sintolo, who is joining us this evening. Sharon, nice to see you again.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, good. Welcome back to QATV.
Very nice to be here.
Yes.
Great to have you.
Sorry I didn't make your candidate night. That's probably a problem for me, but fortunately work and stuff like that. So, but glad to be here now.
I had a feeling as an EMT, you're on 24-hour shifts, so you had a lot of responsibilities, right?
We work, but we can also get mandated. If we go in for a shift and no one shows up, you can get mandated for another shift.
Ah,
So,
okay.
I don't like to sometimes make promises I can't keep and then, get, held at work. But,
Sure, sure.
But anyways.
So talk about the campaign and what you found that people were the most concerns, I suppose, of residents in Ward 4. I mean, you met with a lot of people, I would assume. So what were the same issues that kept on coming back?
So the traffic was an issue, but more not that there's a lot of traffic, but, just people using certain streets as cut-throughs, and just like, they're trying to get to work in the morning, trying to bypass traffic, and just like, blowing through stop signs, oh, I'm just taking a right, so I'm just going to blow through a stop sign. And people, pulling out of driveways and stuff, it's kind of an issue for them. So that part of the traffic, I think we all understand that, more people in the city, there's going to be more traffic, but it's controlling that, maybe. Then school buses too. They told me a lot of times people blow by a school bus, and I think that's a $500 fine. So, I don't know why people are doing that, but
That's scary.
Yeah, it is. And I just, and when I was chatting with one person about that, I said, well, see, that's something your city council would take care of, if you have a concern like that, maybe they can post a policeman up there or something. So traffic, and then the Quarry Hills, I guess the whole lease that's coming up, people feel as though they didn't fulfill a lot of things that they said they were going to do for the city, and so everyone's kind of, a lot of the people I talked to, they were like, why are we going to let them have the lease again if they didn't do what they said that they were going to do? So that was an issue too.
Well, they were talking about hiking trails, and folks would say that the trails are not well marked. I have hiked those trails, and they are there, but the markings,
they
so
said
much.
that, to like maintain them. So I guess if like brush falls and like during the winter, they're supposed to go in and clean them up, and they didn't do that. And then someone had said something about the. I'm not a golfer. It's a fun game, but I don't.
It's a hard game. I'm not a golfer either.
But someone was saying that they were supposed to give back to the city of Quincy, to the people of the city of Quincy. So when you went up to there, you would get a discounted rate. So that's kind of an issue too. If they weren't following through on that, they're able to use the land. So.
So this actually was not your first foray into running for elective office. You ran for the second Norfolk district during the state elections last year. Yes. So what made you decide to run for Ward 4?
Just because I'm kind of enjoying politics. And this was kind of the, especially the city council seat, because, I'm a helper because I work on the ambulance, and this is kind of like a way to help people. Because people were saying, well, what are you going to do for the city? And it's like, again, in politics, I'm like, it's not what I want or what I'm going to do. It's what you bring to me and what you want me to do, or bring to the powers that be. So I know that, when you're having a problem, you go to the city council, and hopefully they can steer you in the right direction, or talk to the people that can help you. So it's more less that, just bringing the concerns of the people to the people that can do something about that.
Yeah. Did you find the same disconnect in Ward 4 that Mr. Lyons was talking about? Some places very, very active, others not so much.
What do you mean? Actually,
when it comes to political involvement or involvement in the city government?
Well, like talking to people, like some people were like aware that there was, but a lot of people weren't aware.
Okay.
They're like, what? There's a, so it's, I guess it depends on if you're into politics. But the problem is, we all should be into politics somewhat, especially local politics. And I think that's something that they don't really focus on school as much, because a lot of kids just are kind of clueless about things. And I feel bad for my kid, because I'm always like, hey, so this went on, and I just want to know what your opinion is, because how do you feel about, and he's like, I don't want to deal with this, Mom. I'm like, yeah, but you have to at least know what's going on, so that when something comes up, it's, you know what to do about it, and you can go out there and, know the people to talk to, or even run for office. And that's what a lot of people I talk to, they said, oh, I was thinking about running. I'm like, you should have. I said, everybody should run. As a matter of fact, there's 2 spots that are going to be coming up for the school committee.
3, actually.
3? All right, well, see, and houses that I went to, I'm like, hey, if you'd like to run, the school committee's coming up. It's very important to get good people. I'm conservative, and I just said I think it'd be better it'd be good if we had a few more conservatives on the school board. So I plan on, don't worry, people, I'm not going to run again. But I just want to go out and get people that would. I know, well, I don't want to mention any names until it's confirmed, but
Sure.
There's some very good people that are going to run, and I plan on doing a lot more door knocking, because I'm getting really good at it.
Well, and I think you said it, you really have to, as a counselor, you really have to listen to what your constituents want. It's not your agenda, it's their agenda. So any successful counselor would notice that and would act on that.
Yeah, and I thought, well, if I got in as counselor, I would definitely want to, set up some kind of like a constant contact type of thing where, you can just put in a message, flick of a button, and this goes out to everybody that wanted to give you their emails. You can get a text or an email, and that'd be great because it's like, hey, this vote's coming up, and these are the pros and cons. What do you guys think? And that would be a great way to get consensus about how you people feel about it.
So with that said, do you think that there's somewhat of a communication breakdown?
I guess you could say that. Well, then again, some people just don't want to be involved. So I guess it would be, send it out there. Everyone that's on the voting list, send it out there. Do you want to be a part of, do you want emails? Do you want text messages about important votes that are coming up? I mean, it's one way to keep in touch with people,
So the term is only for a year. All the council seats will be up for re-election later this year.
Yeah.
Will you run in the fall?
Probably not, because I think I'm really going to concentrate on getting some people on the school
Okay.
board.
All right.
So I think I tried, and
Okay.
I've been rejected.
No, but I don't
No.
think it really isn't a rejection.
No,
It really, it's actually sets a great example for, I guess, for others to run and for you to potentially run again. It shows involvement and care in the community in which you live, which is a big thing.
Well, thank you. Well, and that's it. It's just you need to be involved, and if we can get more people involved, and like I said, this fall with the school committee, I plan on getting very involved and helping people out. So looking forward to that.
Too much people complain and do nothing, right? They'll complain, but they won't put themselves
Exactly.
into a position that they could really make the change.
Exactly. I tell people, I'm like, running is tough, but please do it.
I'd like to give candidates an opportunity to thank anybody that you'd like that helped you during your campaign.
All of my sisters. I
Okay.
have, 4 sisters, and they were actually. I was standing at one location, and my 2 other sisters were standing at other locations.
Okay. So a family affair.
Yeah, family. Yeah. If I didn't have all these siblings, I couldn't do as much as I do. So.
Very good. Well, thank you for using our studios here, Sharon. It's
All right.
been a pleasure to meet you, and don't be a stranger.
All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right.
Joining us here at Quincy Access Television, we have live preliminary election night coverage. We're still awaiting numbers from City Hall. We hope to have those for you this evening, and we'll find out which 2 finalists will face each other in the February 7th final election. The last day to register to vote, by the way, in the February 7th final is going to be Saturday, January 28th. City Hall will be open until 5 o'clock that evening, so if you have not yet registered, you can do so by then at City Hall.
Well, we have another candidate joining us here tonight. Has turned into quite a night here at Quincy Access Television. We seem to be the hub of election night coverage,
It's great.
which is a great. It's a great place to be, certainly, and we do appreciate all of our viewers for tuning in, or I suppose streaming in, as it
Whichever way,
is
yes.
now. Joining us is James Devine. And James, welcome back. Talk about this candidacy and what your feelings are right now.
Very good. Can I say hello first?
Absolutely.
How are you
It's
guys?
good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see
Good
you
to see
too.
you again.
We've seen one another at zoning board and license board.
Yeah,
meetings.
of course, yeah. You're always setting everything up, making sure people don't trip, all that kind of stuff.
And am I doing a good job?
Yeah, you are. Very good job.
So talk about the candidacy.
Do we have numbers yet?
We are, I believe the numbers are...
Still waiting for numbers. Yeah, we do
Oh,
have somebody
okay.
at City Hall waiting.
Yeah,
so as soon
excellent.
as we have them, we will bring them certainly.
I'm feeling really good. I'm tired, hungry. I've been out all day. Am I supposed to look in the camera? Sorry.
You can look at
Yeah.
us. The camera
Yeah.
will kind of get
Yeah.
a kind of a...
So I want to talk. Yeah, talk to
Straight
you
on
guys,
shot
yeah.
of you.
Great, and it makes me feel more
Yeah, it's
comfortable.
more conversational.
Yeah, exactly. I'm feeling really good about everything. I was really impressed with the people that went out knocking on doors. I see all these faces, and I see them pulling them in. And I'm like, I recognize them. All the people that gave me granola bar or a cup of tea, sat down with them.
Granola bar just kept you going, right?
While we're walking. But the thing I'm kind of bummed out about is I'm only one person, and there was 3 polling stations, so I could only really be at one. And I wanted to be there to see all these people that I knocked on the doors with, especially like the people in South Quincy, I didn't get down to the Morissette, but what I did do is I made sure that I had either my best friends or Ward 4 people there to make sure, at least one person, I didn't have a lot of people, just to make sure that they were standing there and waving and saying thanks for coming out, because it's cold, it's winter time, and I know it's not easy for them to do it, and they did, and I wanted to thank all of them personally and wave to them. So I wished I could triple myself and go to each one. So maybe as a counselor, if I ever get in, I can just have one polling station so I can wave to people. I don't know if that's real, but.
So, first venture into politics, right?
Yeah.
Is it what you expected it would be?
No, it was a whirlwind.
Yeah.
A lot of things, a huge learning curve.
Yep.
A lot of people telling me different things and what to do and try and digest all of it. It was hard. Not hard. Well, it was hard. A lot of time, a lot of effort. Met a lot of people, a lot of really interesting people, and also I got to get more involved already with all the different parent-teacher conferences at the parent-teachers for Lincoln Hancock. I'd like to get more into with Southwest and Delachiesa, all those ones, because I was able to get involved. I did the polar plunge. It was cold. I did it twice, though.
Did you really?
Yeah, I went back in just because I
How long
wanted
did
to.
you stay in?
Too long. The top of my head felt like the roof of your mouth when you drink a slushie when you're a kid. Yeah, so I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm amazed with how, I already was amazed with everybody, but they're so connected. And then I was able to, there was a group of Dems, they did for Martin Luther King Day, they did a bag lunch that they created. They did 200 sandwiches.
Oh.
I'm unenrolled, but they let me come and help, so it's great. And they did an amazing job. We just threw all this sandwiches out, and they did it all for Father Bill's. And yeah, it was a really, really, I enjoyed it.
Well, I everything you're telling me just really makes me think of the connectiveness of the community,
Yeah.
which is a great thing.
Yeah, it is, yeah. And I just want to see more of it. And so a lot of these people are working hard at it. And I think we'll get there. I mean, we are there. It's just sometimes people just don't hear about it. They're isolated, especially where we're sliced up and diced. I think we already talked about this. Like South Quincy feels like they're here, and they're in Bergen Parkway cuts everybody else in the highway. Yeah.
Well, you will have an opportunity to talk more about your campaign leading up to February 7th, because according to unofficial numbers from City Hall tonight, you topped the ticket, Mr. Devine.
Unofficial numbers.
Unofficial
Excellent.
numbers, yeah, it was 318 votes, and you will be facing Joel Buenaventura, who came in at 234 votes.
Oh, wow.
So,
Excellent. Amazing. Thank you, everybody, for coming out and voting. I really appreciate it.
Mr. Lyons at 149 votes, and Sharon Santolo at 53 votes. So
Wow.
yourself and Mr. Buenaventura will be facing off on February 7th.
Excellent. My birthday's February 8th, so maybe I'll get a nice birthday present. And my son will be 18, so he can vote for me on February 7th.
Ah, very good.
I hope he
very
votes
good.
for me. Evan?
So what's the strategy now, going forward, now that you know you're in the final?
Nothing. I'm going to go home and sit on the couch.
Right now?
Yeah. We're going to go see my friends and family and everything like that. So, wow, unbelievable news. Thank you. This is great.
It's nice. It's nice to be able to deliver these numbers,
Yeah.
to be able to have the opportunity to do
Tell
so.
me. Yeah. Thank you so much. Because I'm really tired right now, actually. I could barely sleep last night. Up early this morning, putting the signs out, just like everybody else. I saw all the other candidates dumping their signs, and it was cold and snowy. Yeah, no, this is great.
So I guess I'll follow my colleague and just mention to you or ask you, what makes a campaign? It's the people that get behind the candidate, correct?
Oh, 100%. Wait, I'm confused. Sorry.
Well,
You
the
mean
help,
the people, the constituents, or the people helping me?
the people helping you.
Yes, 100%. Especially, well, right now, the campaign for me was door knocking. So there's a lot of great times meeting all these people. Like in South Quincy having tea and some crackers with a lovely family down there. And then up in the Governor's Road area, the granola bar we were talking about. You know,
That's
I got
where that came from?
Yeah, I was hungry. And then another one was I needed to use the bathroom and there was nowhere to go. So I went to the granola bar guy and said, hey, can I? Yeah, so, but meeting all these people, for me, campaigning for this it's been 65 days, I think, has been literally door knocking. That's the hardest part to physically do.
Because
But
there's a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, but the easiest part, talking to the people and meeting them and listening to what they want to do. And I'm looking forward, going forward, I'm gonna have to get some snow boots, because I'm sure we're not gonna have this luxury that we've had the last 60 days.
Let's
I
hope
know,
not.
I know.
The overall voter turnout was 6.8% voter turnout.
I know.
So yeah, you'll be trying to knock on new doors, I'm assuming, leading up to the final to meet some new people, right?
Yeah, and hopefully with the coverage, more people will come out. So, you know, please come out and vote, because it's very important. You need to. It's your civic duty to make sure that you get what you want.
You know, I was talking to the city clerk in an interview that we will run in just a moment, and I think what doesn't help the voter turnout is that we are off cycle. People aren't
they're very
necessarily
confused.
used to
Yes.
voting during January
It's
and
a
February.
special election.
Well, I know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
you're
because
right,
of that,
yeah.
I think that there's a sense that the voting takes place at the end of the year.
Of course. And then even some people I'd hand the flyer to, and they'd look and they'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll vote. I'm like, it's tomorrow. They're like, wait, what?
Right.
And I'm like, it's actually tomorrow we had, and then they're like, oh. And then you fill them in and it's good. You know?
But there will be early voting again, leading up to the
Yeah.
final on February 7th. It starts on January 28th. That's a Saturday from 8:30 to 5, and then that following week, Monday through Friday, from 8:30 to 4:30 at City Hall. So there will be early voting. There'll be mail-in voting. There'll be
Yeah.
absentee voting, and again, in-person voting.
Excellent. And hopefully they're hearing this and get all that information out there. And get out there. I know it's going to be cold and snowy, but come out and vote.
We don't know, maybe it will be 50 degrees.
Might be, but I'm not banking on that.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
Mr.
thank you
Devine.
so much.
You're
I
very
really
welcome.
appreciate it. Thanks for that.
It's our
Yeah.
pleasure.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see you in, well, probably before.
Well, maybe sooner.
February.
If you guys have any more coverage.
Absolutely.
I love this. This is fun. I'm getting better at it. I was so nervous the last time.
You're doing
My
great.
hands are only halfway sweaty now, everyone.
Let's bring you the final unofficial results again for the Ward 4 special preliminary election here in the city of Quincy. As you see, James Devine with 318 votes, Matthew Lyons with 149 votes, Joel Buenaventura 234 votes, and Sharon Santolo at 53 votes. So it will be James Devine and Joel Buenaventura facing each other during the February 7th final election. The winner of that contest will serve out the remainder of the Ward 4 term through the end of this year, and then can run if they choose for the full 2-year term.
We should mention, Joe, that a lot of the candidates, all of the candidates came into the studio this evening, so we thank them for taking the opportunity to join us. But a lot of them mentioned you and your programming, the AM Quincy interviews.
Yes, it was great to meet them during that program, and we look forward to talking to James and Joel again leading up to the final. And I know that you had a chance to catch up with the city clerk earlier.
I did.
Yes.
I did. And I believe we will go to that interview with the city clerk, Nicole Crispo.
Nicole, just talk about what is going on here in the city tonight or today.
Yes, hi. Thank you for having me. We're having our city special Ward 4 preliminary today. The polls have been open since 7 a.m. and they'll be open till 8 p.m. tonight.
And what precipitated this election?
Our former Ward 4 councilor, Palmucci, got a judgeship. So we were then left with being in the first part of his term, excuse me, yes, his term. So for that, that forced a special preliminary and then a special final election.
And a preliminary was basically not chosen, but it was decided because of the number of candidates, correct?
Yes, so it was 4 people pulled papers, and 4 people returned. And so that then forced a preliminary election, which will then, after tonight's results, it'll go down to 2 people on the final ballot.
And we're talking about Ward 4, so this is South Quincy, West Quincy?
Yes, so there's 5 precincts, Morissette Post, 2 at Lincoln Hancock, and 2 at the Lodge of Elks.
So as far as accounting for numbers of registered voters, what are we looking at?
Just a little over 11,000 registered voters in the whole ward, and so far 584 voters. That is according to our 6 o'clock call-in.
Now, special elections are tough to get support for, would you say? I mean, in your history of dealing with special elections.
Yeah, we haven't had a special election in Quincy in a very long time, so we didn't have a whole lot to base it on. But, I know that you worked with the candidates at QATV. We, tried to get people educated by putting things in the Quincy Sun, putting things on our website. But, a preliminary election, sometimes people would rather just wait.
Well, I think what makes it difficult is that it's out of the normal cycle.
It certainly is. It certainly is. And it snowed yesterday, and, some people haven't cleared off their car or whatever the case may be. But it was a beautiful day today. Again, we have a little while longer at the polls. We're open till 8. We encourage everybody to get out and take advantage. But we certainly understand it's not part of the normal election cycle.
Now, we are in 2023. And with that said, there are multiple ways that people could have voted for this candidate.
Yeah, so we did offer the vote by mail. We offered early voting, absentee voting, and certainly today from 7 to 8.
And when the numbers come in, talk about why they would be unofficial.
So we have 68 people that took advantage of the early voting, which we have here. We will add that together, but we will be looking at provisional ballots. And but if your ballot isn't in by 8 p.m. tonight, it doesn't count.
And talk about the system of how the votes are collected as far as how they're finalized. And I guess I'm talking about central tabulation.
Yes, so we have central tabulation here at City Hall. It's been a great success. Anybody who takes advantage of the early voting or the absentee voting, we tabulate those votes here. No one sees the tabulation until after 8 p.m. That memory card actually goes into a reader, and it reads the ballots, the votes, along with the ones that are out at the polling place. When they come back, they also get uploaded into the same, and then we get a unofficial final until we do our due diligence with the provisional ballots.
So if someone was to be stationed at the polls, they only get some of the numbers.
That's right. Again, we know today that there's 68 that we're going to add to the final tally. We just don't know who they voted for or who they are, but we do know that we had 68 votes to tabulate early.
And talk about where we go from here. When this election is over, we proceed to the final.
Yep, we'll proceed to the final on February 7th. Please take a look at the calendar, which is available on our website, quincyma.gov, elections. It's under the city clerk's page, and there you can find your vote by mail, your early voting, which we will have again, absentee voting, and then the final on February 7th.
And lastly, let's talk about important dates.
Yes, sure, thank you. I actually have a copy of our calendar here. Saturday, January 28th will be the last day to register to vote here for the February 7th election, which is 10 days before the election. It used to be 20. Now it's cut back. It's cut to 10 days before the election, and that's also the first day of early voting. We'll have it Saturday and then Monday through Friday of that following week as well.
I want to thank you for joining us here tonight. We wish you well in the clerk's office as the results come in.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, there you have it. That was my interview with City Clerk Nicole Crispo. And I'm going to turn it over to my colleague. We will go over the numbers once again. I do want to thank Nandan Nair, a part-time student too. He's a student at Emerson College. He's actually done the internship through Quincy High School here. He was at City Hall and did get those numbers that Joe is about to read off once again for you.
Absolutely. These are unofficial results, don't forget, for the Ward 4 special preliminary election this evening. And as you see, James Devine topping the ticket this evening with 318 votes. Matthew Lyons at 149 votes, Joel Buenaventura 234 votes, and Sharon Santolo 53 votes. So the finalists, Mr. Devine, Mr. Buenaventura, will be facing each other during the February 7th final election. The winner of that contest will serve out the remainder of the Ward 4 term through the end of this year. There was a 6.8% voter turnout. In total, there were 11,068 voters in Ward 4. 756 ballots were cast. 2 of them were blank. So that works out to be a 6.8%, 6.83% voter turnout. We hope that will improve for the February 7th final election, certainly.
Well, Joe, we've come to the end of another election night coverage. Certainly want to thank you for joining me and delivering to the residents election night in Quincy 2023.
Thank you as well. It's always a pleasure. This program, this election coverage that we provide here at QATV is one of the most commented that I hear from folks just anecdotally out in the street, that they enjoy being connected to their local government through QATV, and that really is one of our main missions here in the city. So thank all of you, and thanks to our volunteers this evening as well for making this coverage possible. For all of us here at Quincy Access Television, I'm Joe Catalano with my colleague Mark Crosby. Good evening.